Talk Radio. Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, our time, share our talent, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, Executive Producer of the Female Solution Radio Show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeong. In Russia, Zdravstvuyte. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Aswaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network. Call 727-731-5192. We talk to you. Yes, we do want to talk to you. I'm Naima Latif, and we are joined with our co-host, Kareem Hamid, and our American Muslim 360 family. And we're so excited to be with you yet another day. And as we've been talking about, we are trying to the on-air radio network. So you can give us a call at 727-731-5192, because we do hear from you. And of course, you can call us on the Blog Talk American Muslim 360 channel at 515-605-9891. We are so grateful to have our wonderful co-host with us, as always, to address the issues that affect our lives, especially those issues that affect our family relations. So today we want to talk about forgiveness, because there are a lot of families that are in the process of preparing for family gatherings, for traditional events during the holidays, and yet over time things have happened between people, and sometimes the anger lingers, and you can find yourself at a family gathering where people aren't speaking to each other because of hurt from a past event, a past activity, a past incident, some unspoken, unspeakable thing that may have been done to a family member. And there's no forgiveness because there's no acknowledgement of the hurt. So I want to share a few situations that have come to my attention. And of course, as always, I'm not going to say real names of people because we want to protect their privacy, but you too may have experienced this And so, first, let me greet my co-host, Brother Kareem Hamid. Assalamu alaikum.
Praise be to Allah, and I extend the greetings to the listening audience. They be upon us all.
Yes.
I'm grateful that you have presented a very important subject matter that, inshallah, we look forward to the further discussion.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we always appreciate your wisdom in these situations. And the first family conflict I want to address is Tim loaned his brother Lawrence some money a few years back when Lawrence was having some extreme financial difficulties after a divorce. And so Tim made a sacrifice and took thousands of dollars out of his savings to Lawrence from ending up homeless and out on the street so he could pay his rent and kind of get himself together. Well, time passed, and eventually Lawrence got a job and was able to get caught up and reestablish his life. You know, he's now in a new relationship and all of that. Well, Tim brought up the issue of the money to, and Lawrence's response was, "But you're my brother. You know I was going through a hard time. Why would you be telling me about that? I mean, I was at my lowest. I appreciate that you came through, but now you're going to try to tell me I owe it to you? I'm your brother." So Tim was kind of taken aback because, of course, you know, his brother Lawrence had called out to him in distress. He took the money out of his savings, paid, paid what was needed to keep Lawrence afloat. There were no contracts involved. It was just what I thought was just an understanding that this is a loan. And when you get on your feet, you're going to give it back. Well, Lawrence's feeling was that this is what families should do for each other. When you have and I don't, then you should just give. And then, if ever you need it, then, I'll reciprocate or whatever. But he looked at it as a gift and not a loan. Well, of course, Tim is furious. And so they haven't spoken. And the upcoming family gathering, Tim is trying to decide if he even wants to go because he's so angry. He doesn't even want to face Lawrence. And so there's tension in the family because it's known that these two are at odds. Some family members feeling like, "Oh, Tim, you should just write it off. You're well off, at least much more well off than Lawrence." Then others are feeling like, "Well, Lawrence, you should probably, make some kind of gesture to pay it back." But the rift has had a ripple effect. So in the brothers not speaking, or at least Tim not wanting to speak to Lawrence anymore, and maybe not wanting to attend the family gathering, and even thinking about should he file a lawsuit in court. And some family members are saying, "Yeah, sue him, get your money back," and others are saying, "Well, no, you don't do that to family." So it has created, of course, a painful spot, and money often does. But this is the first scenario we want to take a look at, and perhaps get uh, your thoughts on how you address that kind of a conflict in which it might have been court. Family members are tending to take sides. There's a lot of hurt, anger, feelings of betrayal. How do you fix such a thing? And can you fix such a thing without finding a course? So, Kareem, what are your thoughts on this conflict between Tim and Lawrence? Is it resolvable? Is it a thing that will just last forever until one of them dies? What are your thoughts on that? And have you had experiences where there have been rifts in the family, especially over money, where it's caused a breakdown in the relationship that could be permanent? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, this is Almighty God, Allah. You know, the blood relationship, the ties of blood relationship are sacred. They're very, very important, very critical, very crucial to our well-being. The ties of blood relationship, Almighty God tells us that in the Quran. And He also deals with keeping your private word. Your private word. When you give your word, you are to meet the conditions of the word. You know, I give you my word, I will pay you back. But then it's not fair to later on amend that verbal agreement and classify it as a gift or charity from your brother. But that's how the transaction began. It began with, will you loan me? I will pay you back when I'm in better circumstances. Now, that was the initial agreement. And I think it is unfair for the borrower to now change the subject matter at the initial agreement. In the Quran, Allah shares with us that if someone owes you a debt and they are in straitened times, I mean their income is limited, there's no fault on you if you amend the agreement to meet the debtor's circumstances. You can't get blood from a turnip. That's what they say. But a person can fall into circumstances that does not allow them to keep the original agreement. But the agreement can be amended whereby it is affordable and over a length of time, the one that accrued debt can pay that debt off. But also Almighty God mentions that it is admirable if you forgive that debt. If you forgive that debt, that is a very laudable. But you're under no obligation to forgive the debt. The agreement began with loan me, I shall pay you. There are extenuating circumstances in almost every circumstance or every situation. And so our line opened up a way and given the one that made the loan, he can amend that. He sees that his brother is still in straitened circumstances. He's unable to pay that debt in one lump sum. So the initial agreement is they can agree is that we'll amend that agreement. Tell you what is comfortable for you to pay me over a length of time. Now there's these are agreements that Almighty God has given us choices to make. So we should not misuse the sacredness and the bonding of blood ties. Just take it for granted. I shouldn't have to pay you back because I am your brother. Well, because I am your brother, that this is me speaking, because I am your brother. You should respect that and respect the agreement that we made. You know, some people will owe a family member and they have not paid on a timely fashion, and they will mention, well, I had to pay such and such a thing, and I had to pay this, and I had to pay that, and I had to pay this, etc. Well, there's nothing wrong with let the top priority be. If you are paying these people and companies and stuff that you don't know, let the top priority be to pay your brother. And we are grateful that Almighty God gives us the freedom to amend whatever agreements that we have. And don't let money, you know, how can I put it? It's a very touchy situation, but we can't buy each other. We can't purchase each other. The blood ties of relationship is an infinite bonding. It's an infinite bonding. So although yes, we will have opinions, different agreements, but don't cut your family member off totally. Try to keep in good relationship with your family member, regardless of the situation and the circumstance. So I would suggest, you know, don't let that debt kill something. The blood relationship. You know, there are people that will ask me to do this, and they have a track record of not paying. And if I choose to, you know, I can say to them, look, no, this is not alone. I'm giving you this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you already are aware that you may never.
You already owe me money. You haven't paid back. Yeah.
So, there are ways to mitigate that circumstance and keep close relations with your family member. There's an occasion in the life of our beloved Prophet Muhammad. We pray the prayers in the feast of him, and his close companion, Abu Bakr Siddiq. May Allah reward him with the highest station in paradise. The Prophet Muhammad heard Abu Bakr say he was the financial backer of his uncle, Abu Bakr's uncle. Abu Bakr had wealth, and he was able to support his uncle. And his uncle never accepted Islam. And the Prophet heard Abu Bakr say, I'm going to cut him off. I'm going to cut him off. He won't get my help. And the Prophet intervened and said to him, he is your blood relative. Continue to support him. That just shows the closeness of the blood tie. That there is no ransom for not accepting an opinion or whatever. But this is your family. The Prophet Muhammad expressed to him, continue to support him and have. So it shows the closeness of the mystical ties of blood relationship. We are in a situation here as a people. Our families are very private. Now, I'm hearing a background noise. It sounds like something ticking. But anyway, that needs to be our priority to reestablish the family, to reestablish the bonding and the closeness of family members. Uh, you cannot have a healthy communal life without strong family bonds. And so if we keep our eye on the bigger prize, then these small things will not get in the way and hinder us reestablishing ourselves as a viable, healthy, forward-moving community. But it begins with the male and the female and the children that come from that union. That is what constitutes nuclear family, the nuclear family.
Yeah.
So if I can't, if I was speaking with them, I would say the things that I'm sharing with all of us here now. So that's my take on that, that we should not sever family ties. Guess what? I can love you where you're at. I don't have to let you into my
Yes.
I can love you where you're at. And although we have disagreement, no one can. I still love you, And that needs to be said and shown. And don't let these life situations destroy the family bond.
Yeah.
A brother is a brother, a sister is a sister. Yesterday was my sister's birthday.
Oh.
And I made sure that I called her.
Well, that was good.
Wished her a happy birthday, chatted with her, and Naima, what surprised her is that later on, in late evening, I called her. And I remember I just called to see, did you enjoy your special day?
Oh, that was nice. That was very nice. Yes, and those things matter, and I think when we get, as we get into our seniors as adults, family ties are very important. Who are you going to have at the end if it's not your family? So when those ties get broken, and I've seen this, I've seen situations where somebody's living in a nursing home and no one comes to visit, and maybe they got a brother or a sister someplace, but they fell out at some point way back, never mended fences, and so the family member doesn't come and visit, and I've seen that. And I think I might have even told this story of a neighbor that we had back when I was living at my other house. The woman across the street, she had family members, but apparently they were estranged and no one ever came to visit her. Well, she died in that house. And, there was a point where people on the block began to smell this foul odor. And we didn't know where it was coming from. And finally, people figured out it was coming from her house. And the police came by and they were able to, force their way in and found her lying there. She'd been dead for 3 weeks. And because her family member never called, her family didn't call. She had, a son and a daughter, and I think she had a sibling. Nobody, for whatever reason, she was estranged from her family. And I think she just had a couple of cats and they were in there. That's kind of horrible when you think about it. I guess they managed to survive, the find food or whatever, but she had been in there dead for 3 weeks. And this is what happens when you lose touch, you stop speaking, you're holding on to anger, and people get older and they need help, but they're so angry with each other, they won't call, won't check on each other. And, so this, it was such a horrific thing. We thought about this. Okay, first of all, we need to have a block club where we check on each other, even if the family members don't, but also we need to remind people that you need your family, even if something has happened. Mend the rift before much time passes and it's too late. Because how often do we hear about someone dies and the family member that was so upset and never spoke to them, that's the one that cuts up at the funeral. Well, you're grieving because you know that you left things badly and you didn't make up when you could have. And now it's too late. So yes, I've seen that all the time. So you're right. Family members should, and then I don't know, maybe there's a neutral family member, an elder, or somebody who's respected on both sides who can act as a mediator or whatever, so that the two of them can resolve this. Maybe that, like you suggested, okay, you don't have enough to pay the whole thing back right now. Why don't we start with some small payments? But that's the honorable thing to do, not just feel like, yeah, you don't need it, I'm not paying it back. Because then that does seem like you're taking advantage of somebody and not respecting them. But it's difficult when people are angry to even talk or listen. And I've seen more families fall out over money. And my personal philosophy is never loan more than you can afford to lose. Because if somebody says, well, I'm in a desperate situation, and I need this money, I'm going to pay it back, next week or whatever. And so you give them your rent money or your car note money that you are going to definitely need next week. You say, okay, but I got to have it back. And then they don't pay it back. Well, then you've lost a friend. So if you can't afford to let it go, if they don't pay it back, then don't loan it out. If I give it to you, if you pay it back, fine. But if you don't, fine too, because I only gave you what I could afford to lose. So we're not going to lose our friendship over it. But when you are depending on somebody to pay back what the loan that they desperately needed, an emergency and all that, and they don't do it, and you've given more than you can afford to let go, you open the door for conflict. So that's my philosophy. Never loan more than you can afford to lose. And that way, if it doesn't come back to you, you're still okay. But don't give away your rent money. Don't give away your car note money. Don't give away, your vital bill money that you must have. And then they don't pay it back on time, and then you're up a tree. So that's what I would suggest. But hopefully someone can step in and maybe do as you suggest and come up with a way that they can slowly pay that money back. So we're going to take a quick break and come back, and then I'll bring you the next situation. Maybe we can help this family. And it involves trusting a family member to babysit, and then the child got hurt while in the care of that family member. And these are two sisters that have not spoken for nearly 5 years because of an incident that happened with a young child. It was an accident, yet there's unforgiveness. So we'll talk about that when we come back. This quick break, and you can join our conversation if you're listening online on our Facebook or YouTube channel, The Female Solution. Call in 727-731-5192. We're on the On Air Radio Network, and you can call in Blog Talk 515-605-9891 for the American Muslim 360 channel. And we'll be right back after this quick break. Wait a minute, we have a comment. Let's see. Yes, okay. We'll share this comment before we go. And from HLN TV show, our Monday morning mindfulness host says, Grand Rising. Yes, it happened to me. Betrayed by a family member. I went into deep depression and didn't speak to them for a year. Ben and Jerry's ice cream comforted me until I realized forgiveness was crucial if I was to heal. Yes. Oh, we've had that betrayal. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Yes.
Yes, we have two callers on the line. If after this station break, we can open up those lines.
Okay, we'll open those mics for that. All righty. We'll come right back to those calls after break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, and if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating, empowering, interactive conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Gathering of the Griots with Asada. Wednesdays, Repairing Family Relationships with Naima and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Veggie Brunch Live with Angela. Fridays, Health and Well-Being with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Global Talks with Zana. Second Saturday, Walk in Your Divine Authority with Mama Joy. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. Fourth Saturday, be a judge on the virtual Teens, Tweens, and Tots Talent Contest. And fifth Saturday, join us on location as we conversate at the Elevate Cafe, owner Jackie Brooks. Sundays, join us 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Go to thefemalesolution.com to join us on our video or audio live streaming platforms. Listen at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in on the Blog Talk Radio Network 515-605-9325 or call in and comment on the On Air Radio Network 727-731-5192. We want to hear from you.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global TV show. I'm Latif, along with our co-host Kareem Hamid and our American Muslim 360 family. And of course, as we said, we are transitioning to the on-air radio network, and we'll be offering even more programming throughout the day on the on-air radio network. And today we're live on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show, and we're excited, as always, to bring you a topic that can help you and your family. Well, today we're taking a look at forgiveness. These are the times of year when family members gather, and sometimes those old wounds surface, and it's very uncomfortable for people who are watching and feeling the tension because there's some unforgiveness from some past hurt. How do you handle it? Well, in the first hour, if you just tuned in, we shared the story of two brothers who are in a dispute over what was supposed to be a loan, and now one of them saying it's a gift. Tim and Lawrence. Tim loaned Lawrence a large sum of money to get him out of a jam, and Lawrence eventually was able to get his life together, his finances together, job situation, and all of that, and keep from losing his living quarters. But once he got on his feet financially, he did not offer to pay back Tim. Matter of fact, he felt like, well, you're my brother. Why are you asking for money back? And Tim is like, but no, you were in emergency. I gave it to you. We don't have a contract saying you're going to pay it back, but you understand that was the loan. So now, they're not speaking. And, of course, words of wisdom from our co-host Kareem Hamid saying that perhaps maybe an offer can be made to pay it back in increments, but it should be acknowledged that this was a loan. So anyway, we've got some callers on the American Muslim 360 line. So we'd like to get thoughts from those callers. So if you'd like to open the mic and let us know who we have joining us and what they have to say.
Yeah. Circle 727-408. Please state your name and where you're calling from.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Bilal from Louisiana. You know, I was writing the poem for this show. You know, and so I wrote the poem. I didn't know what the subject would be, but I was writing the poem for the show because I know what the type of show this is. That this is the show that's on, and I want to introduce myself to people. So I wrote this poem. I like David just said after it. Oh, inshallah, that'll be all right.
Bilal, if I want to share with the listening audience your designation in associated with and your proficiency in the art of poetry. We elected you and have named you the actual poet laureate of American Muslim 360. If you would share with us, thank you, my brother.
Oh, congratulations on your designation, my brother. Yes.
Thank you very much. My sister, I call you. What I call it? It's sister ambassador. Crazy.
I'll accept that.
When you see a thing conforming to law and you see its logic, Al-Islam, a way of life that is perfect, this is beautiful. Falling in love with it is how we benefit. We will excel in life, forgiveness. Before revelation, Muhammad was an excellent model of human nature. Follow his example for the best future. He never worshiped idols. God showed to like to know. He never insulted people. Let's help others to be more responsible. Muhammad is a living person in history, reality, not a mystery. A model for any who believe in God in the last day. Good deeds are never lost, but increase out of faith. Jesus was given to the world as a sign from God. This is what we were taught. He did not live to do those things, actually, that Muhammad did. Never forget that interfaith is indeed a benefit. Strong family values, sharing respectfully what we know, keeping our community clean, getting rid of drug dealers and dope fiends. Businesses must be part of the landscape. Is poverty a sign of strong faith? That's it. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. We appreciate you. And thank you for articulating that thought. You know, when you think about the spiritually evolved beings that have been among us, giving us examples of how to handle various issues, conflicts, and disputes, if we would just study the manner in which they did handle these difficulties, we would reduce the number of conflicts and incidences that often lead to violence when people cannot forgive. So thank you so much, Brother Bilal. We appreciate your talent. And, you know, a lot of times it really comes down to people being taught principles such as honesty and integrity early in life so that they don't end up doing things that are hurtful and unknowingly. Previous commenter Zelda from the HLN TV network had said that she suffered betrayal, and it is a feeling of betrayal because you expect your family out of anybody to treat you right, and when your family member does something that's hurtful, that takes from you or doesn't give back or deceives you in some way, it's very painful. You feel like, if I can't trust my family, who can I trust? So this is why these ethics have to really be taught inside the family. As a mother and father are raising their children, like I said before, you got to demonstrate the way you treat a loved one, the way you treat people, by the way you treat each other. So if you're in a household and if the mother and father is at odds and they're saying nasty things to each other, and maybe there's a rift, maybe there's a divorce, maybe there's an extreme act of vengeance, children aren't going to learn the ethics of how you treat people, because what they're seeing demonstrated is teaching them, advantage people when you can, or don't care about them if they make you angry. They're going to learn based on the parents treating each other. So that marital bond is critical to teaching ethics. That's the first foundation of where you learn that. So thank you so much, Brother Bilal. We appreciate you. Now there was another caller. Kareem,
Yes,
yeah,
I do.
yeah. It's here.
706-627. You said your name and where you're calling.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Muhammad from the home of Prophet Muhammad by the way of Hinesville, Georgia. And that's why it's so important in the family structure that we, whether we like it or not, we have to teach the human family what has made them who they are, and that is their creation. We know from the time of Adam, family ties are very important for those who remember their creator. And you won't have to worry about being lied to or deceived and get away from the peace, the love, and happiness that a family represents. You won't have Cain and Abel. You won't have Noah's experience. You won't have the experience that Almighty God Allah has shown us how to stay out of that area of doubt by following the final examples that He has given the human family of how to be a human family. You got to know what it is, and you know that is our Quran. When we share that with our brothers and sisters in creation, not only in faith, but in creation, and then we begin to understand how to, like Sister Martin was saying, how to mediate the family life of a gang, the family life of criminals, the family life of whatever, the ant, the animal, how to show them even to encourage their family life, which now creation has made some of them go astray because of the influence of the enemy of family life. You know, that we call Satan, or other people call them, has disturbed their way of life. You know, and so we try to help them get back by treating them the way that all got wanting for your brother and your sister what you want for yourself is very important. If your parents do not support you in your remembrance of your Creator, then don't obey them, but keep up your tithes and continue to make sure that they eat, sleep, shelter, protect, love, all that you can give them, where you won't disturb their guidance and education that Allah has given them for His reason. He says no why. He let them go through those different things. But you always are the protector and maintainer of family life. You know, and have a favor from you. Ensure that if you live this way of life without Islam, because of what you believe in, it will help you prepare the type of relation for humanity to where we will be one family, and we, by His mercy, inshallah, we come again back functioning as one soul. Amen. I just want to say.
Yes, thank you, Muhammad. Very valuable advice that you are giving, praise be to Allah.
Yes.
Naima, in the Nation of Islam, we used to say, and we should hold on to those things that were good in the organization, the Nation of Islam. Bring that forward. We used to say to each other, my bond, my word and my bond is my life. My life is my bond. I shall give up my life before my word shall fail. So give you your word. Almighty God says to us, you can identify the hypocrite in that he makes promises and fails to keep his promises. So, so and we, at one time, the word of the human being had great value. People would give their word, and because of their reputation and their honesty and their character, their word was enough. Their word was enough. People ever agreed that you come into. Well, that has somewhat changed. But there are still those that feel a great responsibility to keep our word, But as we say, circumstances happen, and the word can be made. Jesus said, give that debt. The Almighty God gives you great reward and great credit for that. But there is no penalty if you demand that the person pay. Have to be aware of their circumstance, their situation. But if they don't pay you, and you know they have it, don't cut them off. You never know what the future holds for you.
That's true too.
That may be the exact person that you need to hand you a glass of water.
Yes, that's true. And that's the thing. You never know how the future is going to unfold. This is why you can't judge people because of their present circumstances. Maybe the person in the family who's having difficulties today might be the one that is the backbone of the family in the future, because you don't know, as time passes, who's going to get sick, who's going to need hospice care, who's going to have a long-term illness, who's going to have an injury, or who's going to have a job loss. You don't know what's going to manifest. And so you can't cut off ties. Now, this next situation involves, again, a level of trust. Two sisters, one that doesn't have a child. She's single and more or less living the single life. And the other one, well, Sandra is a single woman, and used to being able to come and go as she pleases. Well, her sister Rhonda has a son, and Rhonda, relationship didn't work out, so she's single mother, and often needing to rely on Sandra to watch her child. Well, several years ago, when her child was just 5 years old, and of course needing supervision, and Rhonda needs to go to work and have Sandra watch her son during that day. It was one of those days the daycare center or whatever wasn't open, and school was out and that sort of thing. So Sandra, she had plans to go somewhere and meet some friends, but she said, okay, I'll do it. I'll stay home and watch him. Well, some kind of way, and he's 5 years old, so you know what a 5-year-old is like. So Sandra was supposed to meet a friend for coffee, and so she thought, okay, well, I'll just be gone for maybe 30 minutes. So she sits the child in front of the TV and said, well, I'll be right back. Just see her, don't touch anything, I'll be right back. And so she goes out. Took maybe a little longer than she thought, maybe it's closer to an hour. But when she came back, she finds the little boy on the floor bleeding profusely. He had broken a glass, he was playing or whatever, but his face was cut, he's bleeding, crying, and of course she's hysterical. So she called 911 and they rushed him to the hospital and had to have stitches and all of that. So of course she had to call her sister Rhonda and tell her there's an accident, and course, the question came up, well, how did this happen? She didn't want to say she had left, so she said, well, he was getting into some things I told him not to touch and blah, blah, blah. And of course, a little child, they just going to say what happened, and so Rhonda found out from her son that he'd been left there alone. And yeah, he was playing. He broke glass. It hit him in the face. But however it happened, he was home alone. And so it's been 5 years, and the two of them have not spoken. Rhonda was so angry. She said, I'm never speaking to her again. She almost had my child killed. I trusted her with my son. I trusted her. And Sandra's like, well, I got him to the hospital, well, it's not my fault. Look, he should have been more behaved. I told him to sit there. I told him not to touch anything. All that, all those excuses, it didn't matter. Rhonda felt like, you left my child and he got hurt and he could have died. And so the two of them, not speaking, 5 years. Of course, the son is now 10. And, he still got a little mark on his face from where he was hurt. I guess it's a reminder. But there's no forgiveness. And perhaps one of the issues is that Sandra did not acknowledge her wrong. She kept trying to make it be about, well, if your son had done what I asked him, I told him to sit there. I told him not to touch anything. He was supposed to just sit there. If he had been more obedient, she's not acknowledging her wrongness. And Rhonda is, not forgiving. It's like, what good did it do for me to take him to your house and you left him alone? I could have left him alone in my place, and so there's bitterness, there's anger, there's hurt. They haven't spoken. And it's one of those situations, if they come to family gatherings, they're not speaking. People in the family know not to bring it up because it's going to end up in a huge argument. But of course, it's very uncomfortable. Now, the child, of course, he was a child at the time. He doesn't even care. It wasn't like he's traumatized or anything. But the two adults are angry. Or one adult is angry and the other one is unwilling to admit the level of wrongdoing that exists. So is that a rift that can be mended? And how do you go about healing the hurt? So, Kareem, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a very, very emotional situation. The bonding of parent and child is very, very strict. It should be very strong. And if when you leave your child in the care of another, that's a risk you are taking. And things do happen. But the sister that left the child alone, to have the humility to seek forgiveness from her sister concerning what happened to her child, not what happened to her car or her couch or her plates or whatever, but what happened to her child. Have the humility to seek forgiveness from her and admit your neglect, admit your wrong. That will strengthen the bond, I'm quite sure. But to just go on as if nothing happened, negating the closeness of the mother with her child, and her child was injured in your care, and you're not acknowledging the part that you played in that is hurtful. But my remedy for certain things is, once someone shows you who they are, believe them, and don't put yourself in that circumstance or that toxic situation again. You can avoid these circumstances that does not bode well. But the onus is on her sister. Her sister has to realize that this is her nephew, and this is the child of your sister. So she shouldn't have never left him unsupervised, especially at 5 years old. You know, but there's a way to bring about some type of communication, some type of closeness. The sister whose child was in, it takes a big heart, a big person to say, I forgive you in relationship to your child. Say, I forgive you. I know you didn't perfectly hurt my child. Word, but I forgive you. You know, Almighty God says to us in the Quran, ask Allah to increase you in knowledge and mercy.
Yes.
Some of us think that mercy means I want greater mercy from Almighty God. Give me more of your mercy. No, we ought to practice mercy. We ought to practice mercy. If we want God to have mercy on us, then we have to also extend mercy and practice mercy among ourselves. Among ourselves. That goes a long way, you know, that I'll never forgive you. What are you saying? You know, but we do want Almighty God to forgive us for our shortcomings and have mercy upon us. Well, it is imperative that we practice that mercy among each other and keep our eye on the bigger picture. But this is a very serious circumstance that the mother was confronted with. I mean, the child is her heart.
Yes.
And I trust you know. That is a very egregious incident to have happened. And she should have never left her. Left that child alone. Not alone. The child needs supervision. And here's one more thing. We need to keep our eye on our children.
Yes.
Keep our eye on our children. Not just sit them in front of
I know.
The tell lies and let the tell lies babysit. No, keep your eye on them. Be aware because they are children. They don't have the property of discernment and rational thought. There's nothing to do anything. So it's not just that they be in your dwelling. Now keep your eye on your children. They're the most precious gift that God has given us. Is our children.
Yes.
But we do, I'm just saying, I'm hoping that they can bond on a higher level. You know, that is a very grievous thing to have happened. But at the same time, I don't believe that there was a conscious effort to harm her child. It was a dereliction of attention and care, all that comes with that. So that can be mended, especially if the one that caused the injury to her child. To understand this is her child. And let me admit my faults to that. And I apologize strenuously and ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
We have to be humble. Humility goes a long way. We have to be humble in our interactions with each other. But that is a very, very high priority offense that happens. But it can be resolved, but it requires humility and mercy upon each other. Very important.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I definitely agree. There's there has to be some give on both sides. First of all, the sister that left the child alone has to have the humility to admit wrongdoing, and not, and sometimes, people, rather than admit wrongdoing, they'll try to make it be the other person's fault. Oh, you should have taught your child better, more obedience. You should have taught them to sit still. You should, no, like you say, the television is not a babysitter. Even if you're in the house with your child, you still have to watch them. You don't just sit them in the other room in front of the TV set and you go and do something else. You have to supervise. You have to be there. And a lot of times parents are neglectful of children, letting the television be the babysitter while they go somewhere else and do something else. They're not paying attention to the child, and things do happen. So you definitely can't leave the house with someone of that age and expect them to just watch themselves or just sit still. Children don't just sit still, they're active. So, that's one thing. And then of course the sister whose child it was, she, yes, this was something awful and it scared you. Your child had to go to the hospital and all that, and you think the worst, but at least understand that your sister made a mistake. She maybe had a little less maternal instinct because she didn't have a child of her own. That's not an excuse, but there are levels of maturity that you reach when you have children that you don't reach when you've never had a life that you're responsible for. I've seen the difference in my adult friends. The ones who raise children have a different level of sensitivity, a different level of responsibility than the ones who never had to take care of anybody and can basically live a life of selfishness. There's a different level of maturity in certain areas. So you have to think about that even when you ask someone to watch a child. Do they really understand the gravity of that responsibility? And do they understand that this is someone you can't just leave and they're going to be okay, because they need to be watched? Like you said, you have to have an eye on them. You can't just let them go and do something and you have your attention on something else, your phone, your computer or whatever, and they're in another room doing something. You have to be attentive to children. And we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this. And then another incident, unfortunately, something that many have experienced. What happens when you find out there's a molester in the family? That's hurtful. We'll talk about that when we come back. We're going to take a quick break, but stick and stay. Don't stray away. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, along with our co-host. If you're watching, you see him on the screen, Kareem Hamid, and our American Muslim 360 family on our Blog Talk channel at 515-605-9891. And you can call into the on-air radio network and make your comments as well. And that is 727-731-5192, because we want to hear from you. And we'll be right back after this quick break. So just stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment after this.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating, empowering, interactive conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Gathering of the Griots with Asada. Wednesdays, Repairing Family Relationships with Naima and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Veggie Brunch Live with Angela. Fridays, Health and Well-Being with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Global Talks with Zana. Second Saturday, Walk in Your Divine Authority with Mama Joy. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. Fourth Saturday, be a judge on the virtual Teens, Tweens, and Tots Talent Contest. And fifth Saturday, join us on location as we conversate at the Elevate Cafe, owner Jackie Brooks. Sundays, join us 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Go to thefemalesolution.com to join us on our video or audio live streaming platforms. Listen at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in on the Blog Talk Radio Network 515-605-9325 or call in and comment on the On-Air Radio Network 727-731-5192. We want to hear from you. And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, along with our co-host Kareem Hamid and our American Muslim 360 family, joining you once again this Wednesday morning. And today we're talking about forgiveness. Can you forgive a family member who has hurt you? And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy when one that you trusted betrays that trust. And before we go to the next situation, I wanted to check and see if there are any callers on the switchboard that want to make a comment.
I see no one at this time. I invite you to press one on the phone and join us in this very worthwhile conversation we're having this morning.
Absolutely.
Time.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Now, okay, Brother Bilal is back with us.
Oh, well, Bilal, before. Well, let's see if we can get a new caller chance before we return. You say you have Martha Nyla?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll bring her on. We haven't heard her voice yet.
Assalamu alaikum. Martha Nyla here.
Yes, walaikum salam.
And right to the point, thank you so very much for giving us this. What can you say? I know from experience it's healthy to forgive in various relationships, and I've experienced several. But one in particular is with a close family member where I'm auntie. And, you know, a lot comes with that, especially when you're a strong disciplinarian. Go figure. It can truth here. And sometimes we make our errors, but in the meantime, you don't expect revenge in the way that it occurred with myself and my niece. But when I went to approach her, my cousin, now I'll be pleased with her, we're going to have station in paradise. She approached, she saw my going towards my niece to ask a question, and I guess the expression on my face said it wasn't going to be pretty. And so I was going to do it quietly. She got me to intervene, and she said, "Don't do it." And I said, "But you don't know what happened." She said, "It doesn't matter. Don't do it." I was like a choking, you know, in my throat. I'm like, "Let me tell you what happened." No, I don't want to hear it. Just don't do it. Just forgive and just let it go. And you know, see, listen, I must say, I heard those words and I took a deep breath and I let it go. We now have the best loving relationship, my niece and I, because I didn't, what's called fan the flames or what have you. I mean, it was truly something that could have broken up a marriage. But praise be to Allah. Just that forgiveness helped me, and it helped me, you know, not realize that there was something else going deeply in my niece's mind. So praise be to Allah. Forgiveness is truly the tool or the usefulness to use. So I'll stop right there. Thank you so very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. It's not an easy thing, and you know, the bond between siblings should be strong, and a lot of that depends on what happens or what has happened when you were growing up, and whether or not your parents encouraged, you know, forgiveness, cooperation, playing together fairly, and things like that. If parents did the unfortunate thing some ignorant parents do, pitting you against each other by comparing you to each other and creating resentment, those things surface later on in adulthood. And so again, parents have to have wisdom. You are building character in a human being, and you're teaching them the ethical values of life by the way you treat them, by the way you treat each other, by the way you even handle disputes. Your children are watching. So naturally, when your siblings, if they're having a conflict, parents need to show them how to resolve the conflict. And definitely, you know, once you have siblings and then one of the siblings has a child, now you've got a niece or a nephew, and that relationship is going to reflect the relationship between the siblings. Do you look at your sister or brother's child like you would look at your own child? Well, you would do that if that relationship is there. But if there's a rift, then sometimes that resentment kind of spills over into the next generation that didn't have anything to do with the situation. So building family ties are important, and it's important for, if you've got a sibling with a child, that they teach their child to respect you the way they would respect their own parent. That's also a part of what we model when we treat each other with respect. We're teaching our children, this is my beloved brother or sister. I treat them with respect. You must do likewise. And when you do other than that, then it has to be made clear that's not acceptable. So those are things that are taught in the household, and that's what a household is for. That's your first school. Now this next situation, and then we'll get to Brother Bilal's next comment, and anybody else who's on the line also. But this next situation, again, it was, you know, hurtful situation of a sister and brother. So Patricia and Elvin, you know, they grew up close in age, brother and sister. And, you know, like most brothers and sisters, you know, you had your good times, your bad times, you know, you fight, you make up and that kind of thing. Well, Elvin tended to maybe drink sometimes, and that was not something that his sister Patricia approved of, but she knew he was overall a generally a good person. And when her daughter was young, you know, every now and then he was, you know, the good uncle that might take her daughter to the park or something like that. So she appreciated that. And he always seemed kind to her daughter. And so, you know, Patricia let Elvin watch the daughter from time to time, just do little things like, you know, take her to the park and things like that. And so she just was not aware of anything inappropriate. Well, years have passed, and her daughter is now in her 30s, And Elvin is, he's an older man and he's got an illness and he's in the hospital. Well, the daughter has now confessed to Patricia that there was some molestation that took place from Uncle Elvin when she was in her teens, and it was never spoken of. The daughter, of course, felt, as unfortunately molestation victims feel, there's some shame involved. So she didn't say anything. You're confused. You don't know. Was it my fault? All these things, because Uncle Elvin had been the fun uncle. You go and play ball in the park with and all that sort of thing when she was a child. And so when that incident several incidents happened during her teen years, she didn't tell her mother. Now that she's a grown adult, and she told her mother's very, very, very angry and hurt and cried and everything. And so Elvin's illness is very severe. And, it's that situation where the doctor starts predicting, well, you only got X amount of days or months or whatever left. Well, she doesn't want to go see her brother. She's too angry. She's too angry. And her family is asking what happened. You need to go see him. You need to go see him. You need to go see him. And she said, I'll never speak to him again. Well, to protect the privacy of her daughter, she didn't explain why she's angry. She didn't explain what happened. She's thinking, oh, should I, he's too sick for me to even prosecute even if I was going to bring charges. Plus, she can't bring charges because it was her daughter. And her daughter is just let it go, even though molestation does have its emotional consequences. Even if you mask it, there are things that affect your personality. But having learned that her trusted brother molested her child, it was so devastating. She cannot face him. She doesn't want to speak to him. She's not going to see him. He is literally dying. And other family members are saying, why don't you go see your brother? He needs you. Why don't you go see your brother? She doesn't want to talk to him. And you can't undo the past. So how does a rift like that ever heal? Because at the end of his life, her brother's not going to see his sister unless she forgives. And in her heart, she can never forgive him for that betrayal. So her daughter, of course, she's feeling like, well, I had to, get this out and let because some of the problems I've had in life, I realize it stems from that memory. And her revelation of that has caused deep, deep pain. But it was something her daughter felt like, well, I'm a grown woman. I need to address it and let you know what your brother did. So how do you heal the hurt from that kind of a thing? Patricia, of course, is feeling like she can never speak to her brother Elvin again. He's dying. He's wondering why she won't come see him. Other family members have come. His niece also isn't coming. She's just not able to bring herself right now. And it's just a deep, unhealed wound. So, Kareem, what are your thoughts? How may this family deal with the revelation of this act of violation that happened so many years ago, but yet is still a violation, a breach of trust, and something that has torn his sister apart? What are your thoughts on that?
That is a very, very, very critical circumstance, situation, whereby a close family member sexually assaulting your child. That is deep. That is, there are certain situations that are so egregious that I believe they have to be discussed. It has to be stated because of the importance of the violation. That it should not be just ignored. And we don't know whether she was his only victim.
Yes.
She was a child, and she internalized and tried to bury that serious infraction from her uncle. But she is a child. She handled it the only way that she knew how, and that was to bury it, to not mention it. But I want to suggest to us as parents, we must have the closeness with our children, that they can discuss with us any matter, anything. Don't fear to share with me. Whatever the circumstance, whatever the situation, I'm here to help you. Sometimes children, they don't have the confidence in their parents to share such an egregious act as sexual exploitation. I wish the child, and this is a child, and they make decisions to avoid harm. All they know is pain and pleasure, and they go to certain measures to avoid pain.
Mm-hmm.
But some things have to be addressed so that it does not continue to occur. The sister whose child was molested, I cannot, say, well, look, you need to go and speak with your brother. That cuts to the quick.
Yes, it does.
To the core. But my suggestion, and it's not the only, is remember when he was a little boy, when he was your little brother. He was not that person at that time that molested your child. Something have occurred in his psyche that transformed him into such a perverted act. I can love that innocent child, but I can hate the wrong that came from that innocent child once it became mature. There are circumstances, situations that shape and form us. Hate the crime. Hate the author of the crime. But if you can find it in your heart to love the innocent beginning of one that committed the criminal act, for your own, praise be to Allah, for your own sanity, for your own emotional health, to carry that around with you the rest of your life and never find a place within you to work on healing the infraction that was done to your child and you. I often refer us back to our humble beginnings as small children, and we are subject to the influences of the family and the environment in which we live. No child comes here with a mind or desire to violate another human being. But circumstances, situations, unconscious messages, sending influences to our emotions, the emotions of lust. That is what shaped that innocent child. But if she has the fortitude to go to him and let him know that you know, and hopefully he can, he's at death's door. He will be held accountable for what he has done in this life. He is at death's door. So you open up the door for him to seek forgiveness for his soul. For his soul is going to another place. So to have that conversation at that very critical time, when you're at death's door, let's clear the air. So that's my suggestion. And I would not hold her to blame if she did not go. But that is her personal emotions. That is connected with that which is most valuable to her, and that is her daughter. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, she was a child, but she's a full-grown woman now. And she's stating what happened.
Yes.
And it is a very, very egregious offense. So the one that committed that, he was not created with that nature to be a molester. That small infant, 2-day-old child was just as innocent. His slate was clean and pure. It only desired love and to give love. The circumstances, situations, influences distort the fair nature that Allah has created in us as human beings. Hate the sin, but don't hate the sinner. This is very important, very touching. Okay, we have another caller on the line.
Yes. Well, let's bring them on before we take a break. We'll bring in our caller before we take a break. So you can open up their mic. Go right ahead.
Okay. I'm opening up the mic of Bilal, the poet, once more. Assalamu alaikum, Bilal. Take your phone off of mute, please.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. I would like to just kind of like go back to the question before that. But you did what you said, Kareem, is, I'm in full agreement with that. This is something that I like to say about concerning the one before that about parents. My parents were like this. Our spouses, the children, my children, my siblings. My dad didn't leave allow us because we don't get in arguments with each other. My dad didn't play that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, no, y'all never. Me and my children, spouse, we didn't never got into arguments with each other. My dad didn't play that. And we was in environment. I don't know very nice in every environment though. But for if a brother or sister did something to somebody, something, or a cousin, something like that, it kind of like was a justification. Yeah, man, you should have did that. That's supposed to be your brother. And this is killing or whatever. I don't know when that kind of mentality was in all the hoods across America, but that was one that was in New Orleans. Where I was at, it was like, yeah. It was like, oh, your brother, look, man, you should have. And I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? That's me right now. I said, that's crazy. But because that person was so close to you, it was like they deserved people punishment. than anybody else because of what they, what they did to you all or said to you. I don't know whether or not that was in all the hoods or what. That was in where I was grew up at, in the project that I was grew up at. So my daddy was very adamant about us. You know, my dad even let us all amongst each other. He didn't play that. And even to this day, me and my sister and them, we don't. I know we just did some serious stuff, but we don't get in that they just feeling us. We don't just get into that kind of stuff. Well done.
Yes. Well, we thank you for sharing that because people need to know that it is a whatever happens between the siblings, the parents have set the stage for that. They have set the foundation based on what they allowed to happen in the household. You're right. If they squashed arguments and conflicts between the siblings, and that carries on into adulthood. But if they let you argue and fight or that kind of thing, or they argued and fought, then that becomes the way you handle things. That becomes the way you handle other people. So again, that household environment is critical. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we got another caller on the On Air Radio Network. Hold on, stick and stay. Don't stray away. We're going to be right back after this quick break. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 727-731-5192. We want to hear from you. And of course, if you're on the Blog Talk Radio channel, the American Muslim 360 channel, it's 515-605-9891. You can press 1 so that our co-host knows you got a thought you'd like to share as we talk about forgiveness. So we will be right back after this last break. So stay with us.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif. And if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And thanks to all those who are watching us on our YouTube and Facebook channel, The Female Solution, and listening on our On Air Radio Network. Of course, that call-in number again is 727-731-5192. And you can hear more from On Air at onaireverywhere.com. That's onaireverywhere.com. And we are so excited to be able to bring you even more programming throughout the day as we expand to the On Air Radio Network. And we today are talking about forgiveness, especially when it comes to family members. Can you forgive a family member who hurt you? Well, a lot of times things surface as we become adults, and sometimes those painful memories come up, and they can affect those family gatherings when we have to rehash what happened. So I believe we got a caller on the On Air Network. I think I heard my sister Zelda popping in. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising. Wow, what a topic to be discussing this time of year. And it's ever appropriate, too, because family, it appears to me that those who are closest to us can do the most damage. sometimes it's the people on the street who give you more love than your family. And speaking of a family, I had a betrayal in my family, and I won't say their name because I don't want to start anything. You know, I've forgiven them, and it's over with. But the experience that I went through of blaming myself and almost eating myself into a coma.
Mm.
Ben and Jerry became my regular friends. I'm talking about Ben and Jerry.
Ice cream.
then,
yes.
In the middle of a spoon one day night, in the middle of putting a spoon in my mouth filled with butter pecan ice cream in my face. That's my go-to when I'm not feeling the way I want to feel. I go get that butter pecan ice cream because it reminds me of the time when I was living with my aunt. And whenever there was a problem, she gave us some butter pecan ice cream. So I resorted to that. And I held a grudge against them for about a year. And that's when I started evolving. And I figured out I was doing more harm to me than to them because they'd done the damage that they did and moved on. And here I am, still sulking in it, eating ice cream and making my health deteriorate. That wasn't the right move. So that experience taught me lessons in forgiveness that I didn't want to learn. But it all worked out. I'm now in touch with this family member. I've taken them to lunch and dinner, and we sat and talked like nothing ever happened.
Have they ever addressed what they did? Did they ever address the betrayal?
No. Mm-mm.
Do you think they can, or do you expect them to, or are you just gonna let it go? Do you think you know?
No, honey, that's long gone. I let that train go. Otherwise, it would eat me alive. No, they're not gonna let it go. I mean, they're not going to apologize. They didn't. In their eyes, they see completely nothing was wrong.
Yeah,
it'll kill you.
Yeah, and that's when forgiveness is challenging, when the other person will not acknowledge or admit any wrongdoing, and you have to make the decision: either I'm going to let this go, or it's going to eat me alive. And then well, speaking of eating alive, they now understand that that's what cancer is. It's something is literally eating you alive. And that's what's happening to the cells in your body when there is cancer. That's why cancer manifests when you have anger and unforgiveness, and it's eating you alive. And so the energy of that manifests in the cells of your body as cancer. So you literally are killing yourself when you don't forgive. The thing people think forgiveness means, it's okay that person did this awful thing. No, it doesn't mean that you're saying it's okay or you deserve to be hurt or whatever. It's you realizing that they did not have the consciousness at the time of the act to know any better. So you're forgiving them. What's the Jesus prayer? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. You got to know that inside. They don't know. They don't have the spiritual evolution to comprehend the hurt that they caused. That's why they did what they did. So you let it go because they really weren't at a level of awareness where they understood the pain that their actions caused.
And it's funny, it's one of my teachers.
So
they were teaching me. They were teaching me indirectly.
Wow. Yes.
I was looking at the painful part of the experience, but I had to get beyond that to see the higher level.
What is the lesson
that I needed to be at in order to get it? It was embarrassing. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but sometimes you got to go through things in order to see things differently.
That is true. And another thing I would say to people, because things manifest in other ways, like you mentioned, you turn to the ice cream and that helps soothe. A lot of times, childhood trauma manifests later in life by either an overeating problem or an alcohol drinking problem or a drug use problem. And so parents need to see what's manifesting, especially, their children may be growing into the teen years, and then you're seeing this, distortion in behavior, or maybe something got a weight problem. And, rather than just thinking, oh, you just need to be more disciplined about your eating, and you need to stop eating junk food, you need to exercise more. Instead of you looking at the surface, look underneath and see what is triggering that behavior, that self-destructive behavior. 9 times out of 10, it's an unresolved childhood trauma that was never addressed or acknowledged.
And that childhood trauma that turned into adulthood trauma.
Yes.
As a result of that, I gained about 20 pounds and just felt miserable. One of the things, gaining that weight and feeling so bad, made me look at people who were obese in another light, in another level of consciousness, because I realized that underneath all that extra flesh is a lot of pain.
Yes, that's
and
what that
issues
is.
that cause that pain have not been resolved. So that was one of the greatest lessons I learned. It's like now, so when you see the big fat man or the big fat boy, just know that they're going through the same thing, something similar or not, that you went through. And they're coping with it the best way they know how. And it may not be the best way, but it's the best way for them at that time.
Right.
So stop looking at, I'm talking to myself now, I'm not talking to anybody. So stop looking at fat people and other kind of people that don't fit society's norm as something's wrong with them. No, there's not something necessarily wrong with them. They're just out of balance. And that is not always people wrong.
Right. Like you say, they're coping the best way they know how. And the people that I've talked to that struggle with weight, if they're friends and we talk on a deeper level, eventually they'll reveal the thing or things that happened to them during their life, during their childhood, that were just so hurtful. And then you can see that they're using food to self-medicate. And sometimes they recognize it, sometimes they don't. But even recognizing that's what it is, it doesn't make it go away. Okay, this horrible thing happened to me as a child, and I like to eat ice cream and cookies, and it makes me feel better. They can realize that, but still, unless something happens to heal the hurt, they're going to keep doing that. And that's why diets don't work, and trying to starve yourself, this doesn't work, because you got to heal the emotions. That's where the pain is. When you can heal that, then you can go through the process of changing eating habits. But it doesn't just happen just because you realize, okay, I'm eating because this awful thing happened. It traumatized me. I feel better when I eat chocolate cake. I feel better when I eat a bowl of ice cream. And so I'm going to eat that every time something happens to me that brings back that bad feeling. I'm going to go and eat, and I'll feel better. And I have people close to me where I see this, and I know that this is what they're struggling with. And even them realizing that's what it is, it still doesn't take away the urge to go and get that piece of chocolate cake or that big bowl of ice cream and that package of cookies and sit there and eat it and feel better, because the alternative is to sit there and feel bad. And who wants to feel bad?
Right.
So, you're right. I don't
they
judge.
Don't have the tools. They don't have the tools necessary to help them get to the next level. And one of the best tools I ever had, and still have today, it is my first Bible. I don't care what the church folks say. My first Bible is Louise Hay, Heal Your Life. Because every physical ailment that we have comes from an emotional attachment that we have to something or someone. And until you go in and learn how to to look at the probable cause of that pain and attach an affirmation to that and say it and write it and live it daily, nothing will change.
That is true.
But if you go in and do the work, and Jan Levant says it all the time in all of her books, until you begin to do the process, to do the work, baby, ain't nothing gonna change. You're gonna keep on eating Ben and Jerry. And I was tired of eating Ben and Jerry. I was fulfilled for another week of Ben and Jerry. After a while, the butter pecan, you go get some black walnut or some strawberry or some vanilla. The flavor changes, but the incident didn't change.
Yes.
The feeling didn't change.
Yes.
So I had to find something else. And I knew about Louise Hay. So it's like, if she healed folks from cancer, well, actually, they heal themselves by changing their mindset.
Yes.
If she can do that, if she can work on somebody else, I can work on me. So that's what I did. And I see this person today, and I hug them and kiss them because they taught me something that I didn't want to learn, but I had to in order for me to evolve.
Yeah, that's a major step in evolution, and I appreciate you mentioning Louise Hay. For those people who don't know, that's Louise Hay. As a matter of fact, I'll put it on the screen. She's tracked the emotional causes for every physical illness, because your body is just a communication device. It's going to express to you what your emotions are expressing. Eventually, they manifest in the cells in your body. So for every physical illness that your body creates, there was an emotion that was expressed for a long period of time inside, and that's why the physical manifestation evolved. And so you can go, and I will do that often if there's some kind of pain or some kind of malfunction. I will type in Google whatever it is, severe I'll put in Louise Hay emotional causes for severe headache, whatever the thing is I'm going through. I'll type in her name, the thing, emotional causes, and it will bring up the portion of her book that, but I say buy the book, just because it helps to have it on hand, but it's there online, which is a wonderful tool to at least understand what is underlying. And then in her book, it has, like you say, the affirmations that you say. Like, I think I mentioned this before, I got a cataract in my right eye. The right side, it represents the future. The left side represents the past. So her affirmation, because the cataract is created when you don't see a bright future. In other words, you're feeling a lot of dread, doubt, misgivings about your future, and so it manifests as a cataract in your eye. So the affirmation is, I see a bright future. I see a bright future. So you say those things, and that is what over time will help dissolve the cataract, because over a long period of time you said to yourself, oh, I don't see things getting better. I don't see things. I don't see how my relationship is going to get better. I don't see how and whatever it is you've been projecting in your mind for a long period of time, it's manifesting now in your body. And so, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to, before thinking about surgery and all that, I'm not doing that. I'm going to reverse the energy that, because you can reverse engineer anything. And so I'm going to reverse the thought that created the energy that affected my eye, and we can do that with every part of the body. And like you said, people have healed themselves from cancer using those affirmations, because cancer is long held resentment of someone, unforgiveness of someone, anger at someone, and it manifests in the cells of your body. Yes, Brother Kareem, go right ahead.
Okay, we have a caller here if you are ready to receive.
Yes, let's take that caller. And thanks so much, Zelda. We appreciate you so much for sharing that. That's just so powerful.
Be sure and tell everybody listening. Be sure and get that Louise Hay book. It's life changing. It's a game changer.
Yes, it is. Thank you. We're gonna put that on the screen so people can get Louise Hay. I believe it's Hay. That's how she spells her last name, right? Hay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we'll put that on the screen. And please open the mic for our caller.
Okay, someone is designated here as anonymous. Your mic is
okay. Anonymous, we're gonna be ready to close your mic if you say something crazy, because we don't know your name. So be nice. You got a couple of seconds. Walaikum salam.
This is your
friendly Amina again.
Oh, okay, Amina. We got to put your name to that voice. Yes, so we know you're a safe person.
I just happened to call in this morning to see, and I was trying to remember what day you're on. Female Solution is on. I was getting mixed up with. I thought it was on Thursdays, but it is Wednesday morning.
Yes.
So I just happened to call in. I said, well, let me see, what's on this morning. And it is ironic. You're talking about a topic that really hits home for me because that's something that I've been dealing with a long time, and I kind of got to a point where I healed myself and I got help, and that is I come from a very dysfunctional family, and our folks, you know how we are of our race, we don't want to deal with certain issues, how can I say, health issues and personal trauma issues in our families. We kind of stay in denial, or we don't seek the help. What stays in the home just needs to stay in the home, or pray it away. That's usually the mantra, or medicate it away. So I mean, this is very apropos that you're talking about this topic this morning, and I only heard some of it. I'm just tuning in maybe about 15 minutes ago, so I didn't hear from the beginning, but I've heard where you're talking about family trauma, how that can manifest, and how you need to forgive. But it's layers to it, and I'm so glad what you're saying to the previous caller, applies. There's layers to it. It's a lot of denial that goes on. In my particular family, I come from a family that there was alcoholism. My late father was an alcoholic. My mom was very overbearing and protective because of that. And his family from Jacksonville, Florida, they some of them were more in denial, and then some were trying to chide him about it. But us growing up, I have 4 siblings, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I'm the oldest. But when you're dealing with traumatic issues, and I've gone to the usual, the what do you call it, adult children of alcoholic meetings and all this kind of stuff. But if you don't deal with the underlying causes of these issues, it can carry on into adulthood. That is so true. That is so true. And everything about our religious practices, whether we're Christian, Muslim, of the Jewish faith, or whatever, those are the 3 main Abrahamic faiths, that most of us choose. A lot of times they need training in their congregation to whether it's the imam or the pastor or the rabbi or the whoever, your religious leaders. They still, praying it away is not helping, and medicating is not helping, because you never get to the root cause of what it is, and a lot of this is a disease, alcoholism, and this is why I chose the field that I did, even though, I was in the long-term care field for many years raising my children, but it's you look at how patterns that were set in your childhood, it does affect you.
It does.
As an adult.
It does.
I ended up marrying two men, divorced now,
Yes.
That were a lot like my father.
And that's what and that's the thing that women should realize, and probably men too. You're going to marry or be attracted to somebody that reminds you of the opposite sex parent, even if they're dysfunctional. So if they're dysfunctional, you're going to be drawn to that same dysfunction because that's what's familiar. So I would say be emotionally healthy as possible before you get into a relationship. That's what all of us have to strive to be. And I know we're about out of time now. I just wanted to throw this on the. Wa alaikum salam. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing that. We appreciate you. And of course, we put on the screen here. See Emotional and Mental Causes of Illness by Louise Hay, the book that Zell referred to. Yeah, look online definitely will help you. All of us are trying to overcome childhood trauma and the people who traumatized us, but the first step is to forgive. So we've got to go now. Thank you so much, Brother Kareem. We appreciate you for all you do, and we look forward to joining us again next Wednesday here on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And for all of you, of course, you can, if you miss a show, you can always look in the archives, and you're on the American Muslim 360 channel. You can look up in the Blog Talk archives and hear whatever you missed. And of course, we're on the Facebook and YouTube channel, The Female Solution. So we will see you all next week. And until that time, continue to shine your light.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.